here we have a Zenith 1942, a little broken there, Trans-Oceanic. It's in pretty good shape. The cover just closes like that. A little dusty, been sitting around. I'll show you the back. You got your original battery still in there. We'll have to take that out. Looks corroded. And yeah, definitely a project. Okay, here we are with the Zenith Trans-Oceanic. This is the first version 1.0, as you would call that now. This set, basically, the cabinet is perfect. I mean, it looks like a 10-year-old radio. Never mind a 90-year-old one. It's a little bit of minor mouse nest stuff in there, but nothing bad really. Just a little bit of chewage on this little wire, which can be replaced. That's not a big deal. Coils look good. Tuning capacitor looks good. It's got a 3-gang tuning capacitor. This is actually quite a good radio. There's, RF stage. It has it, it's basically meant to be sensitive, and that's exactly what it does. The dial string, my favorite thing in the world. This is like, I dream about doing dial strings. I actually hate it, but I'm good at it, so that's fine. That's broken, and that needs to be replaced, so I can do that later. That's at the end. I mean, I can still tune it from within here, so that's fine. The biggest challenge, there's 2 challenges with these radios. This coil, is this broken? No. I think that's how it is. Well, 3 challenges with these radios. The stupid tower here, this thing, you basically just have to soak the whole thing in contact cleaner and hope it works. The other thing are these capacitors. There's no room underneath for capacitors. You can't. I mean, there's 17 capacitors underneath, and then you have these. So you have to rebuild them in the cases, and you know how much fun that is. So I don't know. I'm not looking forward to that. That's going to be annoying. The last problem here is this candome resistor. This is a candome, and you can see how it's screwed to the chassis. Now, there's the biggest issue with them is they develop leakage to the case. The fix is that you put a piece of paper, and it's really ridiculous, but you put a piece of paper in a nylon washer on here, and that prevents it from going to the chassis, and the radio will still work. You can also replace the candome with individual resistors, but if it's good, I'm not going to do that. This uses a 117 C5 rectifier, so 117 volt heater. That's insane. These are all 1 volt tubes, otherwise Loctals, which, again, just a thing with these is you have to clean the pins, but other than that, they're pretty reliable. They're actually pretty good tubes. Let's look underneath. Let's take a look, see what we are dealing with here. I've already seen it, but we'll look at it together. Let's see. What do we have? We have lots of capacitors. This one's been replaced. That's been replaced. It's electrolytic. You can see here, limited space. Now, what I could do is put individual capacitors on a terminal strip here and here. Keep in mind, this bolts the chassis to the cabinet, this little screw, little screw. So that you can't really do much about. It will need a new power cord, not a big deal. The biggest deal is going to be just the time involved replacing these 17 paper capacitors that are buried. I mean, look at this. Like, how the heck am I going to get in there? I don't know. I'll do it. I've done it before on other radios, so this is not that big of a deal. So it's, you know, change the capacitors first, clean this coil tower, deal with the CAN dome if I need to, and string the dial, put a new cord on it, and cross fingers, hope it works, I guess. That's basically what we're looking at right now. Well, I'm getting somewhere on the recapping. Not going to show me recapping this thing because, like I always say, there's a million videos about changing capacitors and all the different ways you can do it. You can see that I generally like to go to the terminal. Sometimes I'll solder on a piece, I'll wrap a piece of the old lead around the terminal and then wrap the new one around it so I don't disturb the connection. Sometimes it's a better way to do it. Other times you have to, because this capacitor, this is a safety cap, shorter than what was there. I can't extend it other than solder to it, so that's what I'm doing there. But every other one is to the terminal itself, and it's you know, in good shape, so that should be good. I gotta finish this, so I'll finish. That's the part that I don't really want to do, but I'll finish that part, and then we'll deal with the electrolytics. Not sure how I want to handle that. This one is one of those cans where I have to cut it open and pull the old stuff out, but you know, that whole story. The other one, this, and that's actually part of that. You can see, I don't know if I can zoom in, maybe. Zoom, yeah. You can see it's been cut right down there, and that's this capacitor. So that will need to be replaced. I think I can hide them in that can as well. And once we're done with all the capacitors, I'll change the power cord, you know, because this is safe. And we'll just see what happens. I mean, it may work. I don't know. It's a Zenith. It'll probably work. You can see my Zenith over here. That one has been, so just an FYI about old electronics. You can do as much as you want to them. Sometimes they just have problems endlessly. I've repaired this 7 times. I don't know. It just keeps breaking and I keep fixing it. It's gone through multiple audio output transformers. I've changed various tubes. Although the tubes have not been so much the biggest issue. It's been lots of different things. And I think what was happening is the original CAN dome in there, which was original, and I always change them. I didn't change them in this. I think that CAN dome was intermittently shorting and causing the output transformer to fail. So I changed it this time. So we've got a new CAN dome, new output transformer, which is not here yet, but it will be. And I don't think it'll ever have a problem after that. So anyway, we're going to do the capacitors, check a couple resistors. I don't know, the wiring is it's like new. I mean, this wiring is perfect. So we might be okay with that. Changed all the paper capacitors, every one of them. Changed these 3 electrolytics. I rebuilt them inside this can, so you see the can from the top and they go at the bottom. Like I said, I don't normally do this, but this radio is, you know, there's no room. I mean, I guess I could put a terminal strip here in front of the speaker, but, you know, for the 3 capacitors, I don't know. I could do that, but the far more elegant way would be to cut this capacitor open and stick it in there and whatever. This radio is a, you know, very collectible radio. It's the first Trans-Oceanic. It will forever be linked to the Second World War and the history of you know, the troops overseas who had these units and used them to listen to entertainment from home. And you know, remember, there was no internet, there was no cell phones, there was nothing. So this was the entertainment, and you know, it's still a very good radio. It was very well built. You know, the quality was obvious from looking at it. This is really when Zenith got their quality to be, you know, top notch. Anyway, So I think the right way to do this is to, be a little bit more diligent and take the can apart and so on. And then we'll just hide the new capacitors inside. And, I don't rebuild them inside. Some people actually melt the wax out of here and take the paper little wrapper off and whatever. That's hours of work that no one will ever see. I mean, no one's ever going to take this apart again. It'll work and it'll probably last for years, and no one will take it apart. So this is fine, and I did it neatly. It's got the shrink, the stuff on it to prevent it from touching anything. I mean, it's gonna be professionally done. I mean, not a professional, but it will be done well, and this will work for years. And I mean, okay, maybe in 40 years someone will need to replace the electrolytics again, in which case this will be accessible. They can just pull the old ones out, replace the new ones, put the can back together. So not really a huge deal, and it'll be obvious from the underside that someone did work on this and restore it, so that's okay. Resistors, I don't know. I'll check a couple of them. I'll see how they are. If they're really far out, maybe I'll change a few, but in general, I'm not going to bother. Needs power cord. Pretty soon it'll be time to see if it actually wants to work. I'm getting ready to cut this can open here. Changed all the other capacitors. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut through with the Dremel, and should get it open enough so I can pull the stuff inside out and throw it out and replace it. Okay, so I cut the can open. I pulled out all the stuff. I've got this little piece here. I may not even put that back on because this cardboard piece should just fit back over, like that, and I can glue it and it'll be fine. I drilled a couple holes in here for the leads, and then we'll put the capacitors in. Well, we managed to get the capacitors in there. That's kind of something. So let's see how this goes. Yeah, look at that. It's going to fit perfectly over it. Let's stick it back on. Hope it works. Went ahead and I replaced the dial string. So another thing I discovered is this power switch, when you turn it off, it's supposed to lift this little flag up. It's not, and it's because this little thing is loose. So I have to figure out what's going on there. Other than that, dial strings, just remember, I don't know why this won't focus, just remember to put some glue, just a drop of super glue on the dial string when you change it, because that will definitely help. I've put the capacitor cover back temporarily. I will glue it once I confirm there's no issues. And I just got to put the dial back on and we should be good to go, or at least go to plug it in. Now, the one other thing that may be an issue with is this resistor strip, so we'll see how the audio is. If there's a hum or a buzz or anything, I will then put a piece of cardboard under that to prevent it from touching the chassis, and we'll see. Okay, we are coming up to the time to give this a test. I replaced a couple wires here that were bad, fixed the dial string problem, so now that moves smoothly. We'll plug in our antenna. This is our antenna here. The speaker is over there, and I guess we'll see if it what happens. Okay, we are going to start bringing this up on the Variac. I hope it works. Let's move these wires out of the way there. Turn that on, and we'll turn this all the way down, turn it on. We'll give it 20 volts. See what happens. Now keep in mind, this has a 117 Z5 rectifier and 1 volt tube, so we won't see the other tubes lighting up, but we will see the rectifier light. So we're 25 volts, 40 volts, 45 volts. Don't see anything yet. 55. Don't see anything, but let me turn the light off. Oh yeah, Yep, we got some rectifier illumination. It's good news. Just wait. 65. 90 volts. I should hear something. Nothing. I don't hear anything. It's a little weird. 110 volts. Shut that off. Let's see. Could be something as simple as loose tube socket. I didn't clean that one. Let me do that.
I'm loving life, actually.
Savings may vary. 0.4%. Well, it's the wicked and the one who loves violence. Psalm 11.
Typical.
So it's just not true to give the impression that God doesn't hate sinners by saying that he loves the sinner but hates the sin. He does hate sinners. His wrath is real. It's not something he pours out on people he approves of. In other words, no violation of his holiness, there's no wrath.
That's a
But
little
on
better.
those who go to waste.
Oh, we're up high in the dial here.
Earlier 27 amendments, but let's be honest. They added the first 10 immediately. They literally wrote it, ratified it, and then the people were like, well, what are our rights? And they were like, oh, yeah, we didn't give you that. And they wrote the Bill of Rights, the first 10.
This thing sounds great.
And since then, there have been one medfit.
Typical.
Spend a ton of money words like that and not recognize
This
that
really sounds
you
good.
can't say that, oh, you shouldn't believe me about oxygen levels without regard.
Basically, all that was wrong was the tube sockets were dirty. It's typical. I mean, these are Lockdoll tubes. They always get dirty. You have to clean them. As long as you clean them, they're good for quite some time. Unlike the miniature ones, which the sockets like to go bad, the little things that actually hold the pins in get loose, and you have to move them around, and the sockets actually go bad on those. The Lockdolls tend to be less trouble with the sockets, but the pins need to be cleaned. So we did that. But yeah, this is a really sensitive radio. I didn't even align it. I didn't do anything to it. I may not align it. I don't know. It actually, to me, it performs very well. So I don't think it needs it. I didn't hear any hum or distortion, so I'm not going to worry about this CanDome. That's something that down the road, if it is a problem, I mean, that's relatively easy to fix. I cleaned these switches. The push buttons themselves will need to be cleaned, so I'll have to go in there with a Q-tip and just kind of clean that up. Dial string's done. I mean, basically, it's ready to go. I'll check it out in shortwave and see how it performs. See if it picks anything up. Probably get a few things. At night, you'll get a lot, but during the day, it's less so. But these are, regardless of whether you listen to them on AM or shortwave, these perform well. I mean, this is why, there was an ad in, I can't remember what magazine it was, but it was Zenith apologizing for realizing the demand for these radios, but not being able to meet them because of the war production and the lack of civilian equipment production. So these were only made for a couple of years, 41 to 42, and that was it. And after that, after the war, they came out with a new model that was completely different, much better design, but it was a completely different radio. And even though I say better, the coils in this are better quality, which is kind of funny. But regardless, I mean, these certainly, they proved how reliable they were and how well they performed overseas. So people just went crazy and bought tons and tons of the later models, which were very expensive. You know, it's like buying an iPhone, or probably more than that, really, today. And people would just bought them like crazy, especially people coming back from the war. It was like, you know, they couldn't get one, their friends had one, whatever, they wanted one. And they were, you know, interested in what was going on overseas, and they wanted to be able to listen to it. And this was the best tool for that. And they bought them. And so the later ones are more common. You see them all over the H500 and the, you know, all of those, the B and A 600 series. But these you don't see. I got fairly lucky, other than the corrosion in the battery compartment, which is kind of bad. The chassis is fine. Looks, you know, this looks like new. So the plating is good. You wouldn't know this is 90 years old, and certainly works well. So I'm kind of excited about getting this back together. I'd love to be able to listen to it. You know, even though I probably won't listen to too much shortwave, there are programs on AM that I definitely listen to.
Because he was complicit in all of that.
So here is the
Adam Schiff is one of the worst
Trans-Oceanic.
members of Congress in modern American history, and he is
Sounds
out there
wonderful.
standing in favor of...
All right. I mean, I have a bad feeling about it. I hope I'm wrong.
Help you save money. Our 50 years.
You are telling me any attorney
Building a winning team starts with recruiting.
has the right to be heard.
There's our Canadian station.
Listen, learn, enjoy. Let's talk with Danny Stover.
Weeknights 8 to 10 on 900 CHML. This ad isn't funny or old.
Learn more at discover.com/.
Citizens and ABC News. Hollywood.
Sorry.
Well, you know, if you look at some of these cases, they may purport to be applying some kind
nice
of primary
radio.
purpose test.
This
when
I
you
didn't
really look
fix.
how it's analyzed and
It's okay.
applied in each case, there really is.
And fine. 8 strokes. And beat as one.
That kind of local.
All the work, no charge up front. Simply share a percentage of the cash they get for you. Businesses of all
Lot
types
of
will qualify,
volume.
including those who took PPP.
Don't need to have
Even those
very
that had
loud.
increases in sales. To find out if your business qualifies, just head on over to
It's kind of cool though, is if you look at the dial here when I shut it off,
Question. This payroll...
the little red flag goes away, so it tells you that it's off. So came out really nice. Again, like I said, the only thing I didn't really fix was this handle. I've seen people put aftermarket replacements. You know, I'm not going to pick it up by that, so it's okay. But other than that, I think it's a pretty nice radio, and these are fairly uncommon, so nice to have it and nice to have it working.